Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this presentation. We're going to start with a word from our school committee chair.
Welcome, Mount Greylock Regional School District families. I'm Christina Connery, the chair of Mount Greylock Regional School District School Committee. As you have undoubtedly heard, the school committee has been in negotiation with the Mount Greylock Educators Association, MGRSD, regarding the 2020 school reopening plan. The school committee voted yesterday morning to support several changes to the reopening plan presented on August 13th, 2020. MGRSD's executive board has also voted in favor of the updated reopening plan. This evening, our interim superintendent, Dr. Putnam, and the Mount Greylock administrative team will describe the current model of reopening and what that will look like for you and your children as we move toward the fall semester. We recognize as a district that none of this has been easy on anyone. However, we remain strong and committed to making our schools better regardless of the circumstances. Our children are counting on us. Thank you to all who have written to the school committee in the last month. Although it's often difficult to respond with any type of reassurance, your feedback and insights are invaluable to us all. And now I'd like to turn over to our collaborative, hardworking, and dedicated administrative team. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Christina. That was I'm truly enjoying working with the school committee and with MGRSD to come to a number of agreements about how things will go. So if we could start, I'd like to just first ask everyone, and see, it appears everyone has done it, but thank you for muting, and if you'd remain muted. Another thing I want to mention is that we're going to have a chat room, and the group of administrators are going to be answering questions in the chat room. So if you have questions, you'll hear it there. So I'd like to begin by saying the purpose of this evening's presentation is to provide you with a roadmap of what school will look like in the Mount Greylock Regional School District as we open for the 2020 year. As I've said on multiple occasions, public education in times of COVID-19 will look very different than anything any of us has ever experienced. Social distancing, mask wearing, the creation of cohorts, and all the safety precautions required by the Department of Education and CDC guidelines will have a profound effect on students, parents, and staff alike, and the way they interact. Many people have asked me, given the low incidence of COVID-19 in Berkshire County, why can't we just start in person? My response to that question is that we are in a process of building an entirely new school experience from the ground up, and it can't be done quickly. We have to build a school experience that follows a myriad of guidelines so that in the event of a rise in infection rates, we have already established habits of mind, habits of action, and systems that will keep us all safe. This is no easy task, and it takes a great deal of time. Even though students are coming to school during a time of low infection rates, we have to behave as though there are high infection rates. And we've got to train everybody to do that. It's like a fire drill. You have to practice it to be able to respond promptly. We are currently involved in 11 days of professional development, and we are building systems for remote learning and in-person learning. We are going to have to try those systems out for several weeks before we bring students into school. And I can guarantee you that our plans will need revisions once we try them out on the students. I'm reminded of the great philosopher Mike Tyson, who said, everybody has a plan until you get hit. And essentially, that's what's going to happen. We're going to get people into the schools, and we're going to find out that some of the plans we put together don't quite work the way we think about them. And that is really one of the issues that is causing this slow and basically phased in approach toward our 2020 reopening. We need to be able to respond in the event of an increase in infection rates. And that's why we can't bring everybody in right away. During this presentation, you're going to hear from your school administrators about our plans for the first 2 months of school. This will enable you to plan accordingly. At 7:30 this evening, you will receive a survey about your plans in regard to this presentation. And we will need your responses by noon on Friday so that we can finalize enrollment and schedules. This evening presentation deals with the agreements that were made between the school committee and MGIA. So it's going to be limited in its scope. There will be much more information forthcoming in the weeks to follow, and we will provide information as it becomes available. After tonight's presentation, I'm sure you'll agree with me that you have a dedicated group of administrators who are working tirelessly to get your children back into school. So I'm going to share my screen right now with our presentation. One moment. I apologize for my ineptitude using this. One moment, please. Okay. Where is our? I might need help. Oh, here we go. There it is. No, there it isn't. I just got to get to our shared document that I had. It's no longer here, so let me go over here. I've got this. Basically, I can't, I had it up. Presentation. Oh, I didn't have enough on this computer. That explains it. Yes, I apologize for this delay. There we go. There we go. Thank you so much. This is kind of the reason that you just witnessed is why my VCR and all of my electronics at my home are never organized unless my sons come home and take. For the advantage of having young people working with you, they can actually make the things you're supposed to do work. So here we go. On our opening plan here, as again I said, the chats will give you an opportunity. Most of the administration team is in the Mount Greylock cafeteria, socially distanced and wearing masks, and they will be answering questions posed in the chat. So as we go through here, the agreements that were made between the school committee and MGIA were professional development from August 31st through September 15th, reopening timelines, and metrics to trigger remote learning and special education. And we are going to go over each of these in turn over the course of this presentation. Uh-oh. What did I do? Is it working now?
Yeah.
Excellent.
From the top.
From the top, we shall begin again. I'm sorry about this, ladies and gentlemen. This is embarrassing, but it's the story of my life. So here we go. Slide one in the chat room. Most of the administrative team is there. They're going to be answering your questions. So please monitor the chat room throughout this. That way you'll be able to pose questions and be able to see the answers that are given to those questions. And at the end of the presentation, we are going to be publishing the information so that those who were not a part of this could be able to see it. So our first slide here, as I said before, was the professional development, August 31st. These were the agreements. So I'm just going to really quickly go over the professional development because this really has not anything to do with your families and your students. During the week, except for it's actually all preparation for that. During the week of this week, staff members are attending PD sessions and they have a choice to attend afternoon remotely or remain on campus. For the remaining 6 days of PD, staff members will be attending in person. While in the buildings and working in classrooms, there will be no more than 2 people in a room. Larger group may be assembled outdoors while wearing masks and practicing social distance. let's get down to the meat of this. You have the same options that I presented on August 13th, and that is option 1. You can participate in a hybrid learning model for families who opt for an in-person model, or number 2, you can opt for the remote learning model for families who opt for remote only. Of course, there's full-time in-person learning for high needs and high priority students with disabilities. Pat will be our Director of Special Education, will be describing particulars about that later in this presentation. So those are the options, but I need to explain one thing about this. We need to establish time commitments for the 2 options. You may choose either option, but you'll need to stick with it for a marking period. For example, if you're in K through 6 and you choose hybrid, you'll have to stay with that through the first trimester, but you could change to remote after that. If you're in 7 through 12 and choose remote, you must stay with it through the first quarter, but then of course you could change after that. The reasons for this have to do with so many things about just organizing the lessons and ensuring the students have a consistent experience, consistent class sizes and things of that sort. So that's our options. Now, rethinking our reopening timelines for K through 6. We're going to go through the reopening timelines for K through 6 and for 7 through 12, but just as an overview, September 16th through October 2nd, there will be 2 weeks of students remote, and students will be remote and staff will be in the buildings. October 5th through October 30th, on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, there will be an AM session and a PM session where the one group, say perhaps the A cohort will go in the AM session and the B group will go in the PM session. Then starting November 2nd, or until such time as we have 2 time exchanges per hour and UVC units installed, then we would go 4 full days, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday in person with 1 day remote on Wednesdays. Now, what I'm going to do now is to turn this over to Nolan Pratt, principal of Lanesboro, who is going to be explaining sample elementary remote.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nolan Pratt, the principal of Lanesboro Elementary. Go Wyverns. I didn't know we were supposed to bring a quote today, but given the fact that Dr. Putnam went with boxing, I'm going to go with boxing as well. Rocky, it's not about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. This administrative team has been working together all summer, and I'm pretty sure no matter how hard we get hit, we're going to keep moving forward to do what's best for the students. So what I have in front of you today is the 2 weeks of remote, the first 2 weeks remote, and this is what the schedule looks like for an elementary school student. This will look different for each grade and each school, depending on the way the school's set up, the number of students in the class, and the time I learned, not the time I learned, but the way the specialist schedule works throughout the day. Each student will receive 45 minutes of math, English, social studies, reading, science. These courses will be conducted in an I do, we do, you all do, and then you do method. So what that means is the teacher will lead the first instruction by showing us the students a demonstration. Then all the students and the teacher will do a demonstration together. Then the students will work together to work on a problem, and then finally the students will work on it individually. Specialist in this time can be asynchronous or synchronous based on the school and the time of day and the way the class sizes work out. Thank you.
Okay, so this is a sample elementary hybrid that we're looking at, the AM, PM, so the half-day model. As you can see in the green, this is Group A, the yellow is Group B. Group A would be the students who are arriving in person in the morning and then remote learning in the afternoon. Group B would be the in-person session is in the PM and the remote is in the morning. So if you look at these schedules, they're pretty much the same, just flipped. Again, as Mr. Pratt said, Depending on the needs of the school and the students at the school, these may be interchangeable as far as what content is being delivered when and what specials will be presented at that time. As you can see, anytime that they are in person, students are receiving core content, also coupled with a snack and recess time, as well as a meeting or a closure and wrap up, depending on if they're morning or afternoon. And then they go into, there's academic supports, specials, and then again, some more snack and recess scheduled in there.
This is a sample schedule for the elementary students when they have their remote Wednesdays as part of the hybrid model. They, at home, will have their morning meeting with their teacher or social emotional check-in. They will have a specialist at some point through the day. Again, the order isn't locked in, but the time is what we were thinking from our administrative team. So they will have a special, they will have some academic support so they can check in with the paraprofessionals who support the students throughout the day. They'll have a break to have snack or move around, and then some asynchronous PE activities. So that they're not on a screen necessarily interacting with an adult, but they will have some movement that is structured that they can do. They will then have some academic support from the paraprofessionals, take a break for lunch and recess, move around, fill your bellies, and then have some time where they're reviewing some core content with the teacher. That could be in an extension activity, that could be some learning altogether. And what's really important is during the hybrid model, our classes are broken in half. So there's half the students in the morning, half students in the afternoon. But Wednesdays are our times where we can capitalize on everybody being together. So the class that will hopefully be together in November will have some time to build those relationships and be together during that core content time with the teacher.
I just unmuted. Hello, everyone. I would like to talk a little bit about the way we are going to handle for children's education for families who choose remote only. We've thought about this a lot, and we've decided to go with kind of a remote academy format, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. We will have an FAQ coming out with more information about this really soon. So our remote academy will be starting on the 16th, and this is for people who opt right away for purely remote. It's going to be a standalone program. It's going to run all year, and regardless of what's happening with the rest of Lanesboro Elementary or Williamstown Elementary, this remote academy will stay intact. The classes will be taught by district teachers who are certified in elementary education. And the pretty cool thing is we're excited that grade level classes will be comprised of a mix of students from both Williamstown Elementary and Lanesboro Elementary. It's a precedent setting, and we're excited about that. Students, if you choose to have your child participate remotely, you may do that all year. But it's very difficult, as Dr. Putnam said, to go back and forth. So if you do choose remote, we are asking for you to commit to stay until at least the first trimester. That's November 30-ish. After the start of the school year, we won't have movement in or out of the remote academy. And we thought it was important to let you know that those students will be blended from both elementary schools. They'll still be officially registered at their school of residence. So you're not going to lose your spot in your elementary school or anything like that. The curriculum will be the same as we use in the elementary school for regular learning. We will use the same learning platforms. So for grades 2 through 6, we will be using Google Classroom and the G Suite of tools. K and 1 and pre-K through 1 will be using Seesaw. We will be using all the same software, and I didn't include this in the presentation, but yes, we will be offering trainings for parents and students to get everybody rolling. It does not matter if your child has special needs, is on an IEP, has a 504 plan, requires intervention services. All children are able to participate in the remote academy, and we will work very closely with our service providers to ensure that everyone gets the services that they need. We still have the same expectations in terms of attendance and assessment and behavior. We will follow the same handbooks that we use for the elementary schools. I just got a note to please remember to monitor the chat for answers to your questions. I also want to just remind you that the K-6 Remote Academy is really just for the elementary school. And in a little while, Jacob Schutz, the principal of Mount Greylock, will talk about the remote option for the high school. This is just a sample schedule. The program is going to be highly synchronous. And that means that there will be quite a bit of real-time FaceTime with adults from the school. This is mostly due to the fact that we're talking about young children here, and they don't have a high level of independence. Older children in the elementary school will likely have more asynchronous kinds of assignments at times so that you can fit those to your schedule. We will have blocks that will follow kind of the same teaching that we do in class. And I think Ellie talked about the I do, we do, you do, or maybe that was Kristen actually, that kind of instruction. There will be screen breaks during the day, and there will be times for like morning meeting and closing meeting to really focus on connection among students.
Hello again, everyone. I got told I talked too fast, so I'm going to slow it down this time. So lunches, when we go to the AM/PM model, lunches will continue as part of our effort for food security in the district. Lunches and breakfast will continue in a fashion that allows consumption at home, regardless of cohort. So right now, if you didn't know, lunches are available. They're available for pickup at the elementary schools. I believe it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. To get more information about that, contact lunches@mgrhs.org. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jake Schutz, principal at Mount Greylock. Here are the timelines for reopening for grades 7 through 12. From September 16th to October 2nd, we will start with 2 weeks of remote. From October 5th onward, we'll follow a AA-RBB hybrid schedule. So AA being one core cohort of students, R being everyone remote, and BB being the second cohort of students. And that corresponds with the days of the week. So AA Monday, Tuesday, R is Wednesday, BB Thursday, Friday.
Is that our principal?
So here is the block schedule for the 2 weeks of remote. You'll notice that the blocks remain the same. Our typical schedule at Mount Greylock is a block schedule that has 13 blocks. Because we have one lunch, we had to organize these blocks into 8 straight periods. So the periods are the set number of time in the day, and the blocks fit into there. So for example, period 1, block 1 will always be 7:40 to 8:25, but period 4 will be block 6 and block 7, and that'll always be 10:10 to 10:55. So this may look unfamiliar to some adults, but for any students who have ever been to Mount Greylock, this is very similar. So getting into specifics,
I'm going to walk you through this schedule. So combined synchronous and asynchronous learning works best for both remote and hybrid learning. Given the grim reality that we're going to need to pivot back and forth, we need a structure that works well in both environments, and this is that structure. This model is designed to consider students' work habits and recognize that some students work best work is done in late afternoon and evening hours. It also frees siblings to support and monitor younger students, as we acknowledge that is a reality for many of our families. You'll notice that the blocks and the periods stay the same each day. We no longer have a rotating schedule, we have a set schedule. Periods are associated with times, while blocks are how we traditionally organized our classes. Whereas we've had multiple lunches in the past, now some blocks will happen at the same time. Lunch is the same time every day. This does not affect student programming at all. The black numbers here describe direct time with teachers, so you can consider this on-screen time. While the yellow number represents more independent work. This could include videos, students watching videos developed by teachers or others, reading, writing, research, problem solving, practice, project and lab work, visual and performing arts work, online discussions and dialogue boxes, physical activity, and other wellness assignments. So a lot of learning goes on, a lot of valuable learning goes on in those times in the indicated with the yellow numbers. The guideline laid out here is a template. It attempts to balance the risks and rewards of blending synchronous and asynchronous learning. Teachers are not strictly bound by this minute by minute, but this in general will limit students' screen time to no more than 3 hours per day. Each subject essentially starts on a staggered day, starting with English, and it follows a certain pattern, which is attempted to be illustrated here with the colors. You'll see English starts block 1, period 1, and sets the pace, and the other subjects follow suit the following day. So the following day, social studies would begin their week of studies. Wednesday would be science and math following that. The idea behind the stagger is to help control screen time. Academic support classes would also be scheduled in such a manner as language, math, science, social studies, or English. So here we look from October 5th onward, when we will transition to a hybrid schedule, the AARBB model. You'll see it's the same schedule. When we look more specifically, we see that in this configuration, we'll have half of a cohort or grade in school on A days, with the other half working asynchronously. On B day, the second half of the cohort or grade would be in school learning. To accommodate those students who are fully remote, they would be assigned to A or B cohort or grade. The offline days and Wednesday would be used for effective asynchronous learning, including but not limited to the same activities described in the remote model. In both models, attendance will be taken for students in the classroom and not in the classroom. Remote students, again, will be split into A or B groups and will follow along with their assigned group, joining synchronously when their group is in person and on Wednesdays, and participating asynchronously on the other 2 days. This combines synchronous and asynchronous learning as in a hybrid classroom incorporates the asynchronous learning into the experience. Students are more likely to have a rich, varied, and robust learning experience. On the other side, some of the challenges of a fully synchronous model are the facts that going from 7:40 to 2:30 in the school day is not an optimal way of doing remote learning. Family dynamics, students often need times to mind their younger siblings during school hours. And even for tech reasons, limited computers, despite the best efforts to get a Chromebook in students' hands, overloaded Wi-Fi, inconsistent connectivity, teachers not able to take their classes outside in the virtual company of students online. Movements of class will need to be sharply curtailed to enable maximum encouragement of online students. Mass teachers and students in classroom will not be clearly audible to students watching from Zoom, and any simultaneous recording of lessons risks the appearance of students and potential confidentiality concerns. So I will be followed by Dr. Putnam. Thank you for your time.
Yes, I'd like to go over the metrics. This was the other agreement that was that MGIA and the school committee came to during the course of this week. So the first off is the metrics that would trigger remote. And in this particular case, if the guidance from the National Centers for Disease Control, Massachusetts Department of Public Health, or the Williamstown Public Health official, I should also put in Lanesboro Public Health agent, indicates that the district should move to remote learning, we will of course follow that direction. Another metric is the test positivity rates of 3% or greater in Berkshire County, test positivity rates of 3% or greater in combined member towns, Lanesboro and Williamstown. And under the state's new community COVID-19 ranking model, which is determined by the weekly COVID-19 public health report, a rating of yellow or red in either of the member towns of Lanesboro and Williamstown would trigger a move toward remote learning. All of these decisions are things that we are taking, the district will be considering, as I said, with all the different groups who are involved in this. The next part is, I've had a number of questions about what metrics would trigger return to the full-time template. We have consulted with the Southern Vermont Medical Center, the Berkshire Health Systems, and the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and we have no guidance. We are not epidemiologists, and we are looking for guidance that would help us trigger return to full-time. And when I say full-time, that essentially, how do we get everybody in? It has not yet been negotiated, this issue. The other thing that I think that comes up is that when we start describing the social distancing rules that we need to follow, it becomes impossible to put all the students in 7 through 12 into the buildings. Just because of, for a variety of reasons, the number of students who are in there, as well as the complexity of their schedules. So at this point, I can tell you that we really have not got metrics that would trigger return to full-time, but we are looking for those things. I'd like to take this opportunity to tell everybody to check the chat, because the chat is rather busy and a lot of questions are being posed and answered in chat. And I want you to take full advantage of that as we move along. And now we're going to go into the next section that was agreed between the school committee and Mount Greylock Educators Association. And to do that, we have our Director of Pupil Personnel. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, I'm Patrick Priester, your Acting Director of Pupil Services. Here to speak to special education. On September 16th, in-person learning for high needs and high priority students with disability whose IEPs require specialized instruction and related services, certain students requiring accommodations pursuant to their 504, and students with limited English proficiency who require specialized instruction and district determined students. And September 18th, we plan on starting the pre-K. High needs and high priority criteria consist of students already identified as high needs through the IEP process on the IEP form entitled Primary Disability of Need Placement 3. Such students must meet at least two of these criteria. Students provide services provided outside the general education classroom. Service providers are special education teachers and related service providers. Special education services constitute more than 75% of the student's school day. In addition, we identify students who cannot engage in remote learning as determined by the district through the child study team process, and students who primarily primarily use aided and augmentative communication, students who are homeless, students in foster care or congregate care, and students who are duly identified as English learners. Rob?
Okay then. So what we have is tonight, there's a survey that's going out. This information is going to be vital for moving forward in planning. As you can see, it's going to ask for your email address. It's going to ask for your child's name, your child's grade, and it will, I think we have something there for your name as well. But essentially the concept is we need decisions about whether your child will participate in a hybrid schedule and this is an example from Les here, participate in the elementary remote academy. Also the question on bus, transportation, and school issued Chromebook information as well. These things are vital to the planning. We've been unable to actually move forward on a number of things, but now that decisions have been made, we are sort of we're at a crush in terms for time to make sure that we can get all of this out. So this is going to come out tonight at 7:30. Please respond to it as quickly. Your email and your child's name are essential to making this happen. We're going to basically be starting to collate this information at just after noon on this Friday. So we need to get the information so that we can take care of all this. I just realized Patrick's a lot taller than I am. Move the screen down a little bit. Okay. So that's essentially the extent of our presentation. Now, I know there have been a lot of questions asked and they've been answered as we've been moving along. All of the questions and answers will be published on our website tomorrow, so that if there are more questions that are posed over the next few minutes, we'll try to get to those. So I'm actually going to take a little time right now to leave an opportunity, some time for asking questions. But I want to thank all of you for participating this evening. And as I said, I'm terribly impressed by the administrative team, their dedication, and I believe we've got a plan moving forward. I am going to stop sharing this. What we'll do is we'll look for the questions. Let that go for another 5 minutes, and then we shall sign off for this evening's. That's the extent of our presentation. And as I said, there are many more decisions that are going to be made. There's a lot more things that still have left to be negotiated as well. And so we're going to be working our way through a number of different things, but sharing all that information in a timely fashion with you as that information becomes available to us.
So I have a vocal question, if I could.
If I could answer, sure.
Sure. No, that's good. So I guess my basic question is, sorry about that. If we prefer to do a hybrid and not full remote learning, what day do you anticipate that to start?
Oh, yes, the full hybrid the hybrid models are all going to start in kindergarten through 12. They all start October 5th. We're going to be having we're going to start with having the remote learning from September 16th until October 2nd. Then after that, on the 5th, which is a Monday, we get right to it.
Okay. And those are Monday through Friday, with the exception of Wednesdays are remote only.
Yes.
Okay. Wednesdays are remote only. The hours of school will remain the same. Bus pickup times remain the same. All that stuff is the same.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. school lunches for those attending the hybrid program, what will that entail?
Yes, that's a very good, the school lunches, we're going to be having bag lunches that are going to be handed out on a particular schedule for the AM, PM at the K through 6, and then there will be lunches for 7 through 12. They typically will be eaten in the classroom, though, so these are going to be situations where folks are.
Okay. And so when you say AM and PM classes, what are those actual hours? So if I have 2 children attending Williamstown Elementary.
Yep.
What would be the AM hours? What would be the PM hours?
So the AM, I believe, is 8:45 to 11, I think it's, pardon me? Oh, 8:30 to 11:15, and then 12:15 to 3:05. Give or take.
Oh.
By the way, this is something I'm going to publish all of these schedules. They were actually a part of my original presentation on the 13th, but we're going to put these up on the website and send them out to families, probably starting tomorrow. Just because, like you, I'm sure many people have questions of this sort, and what we'll do is push them out using the same email system that we use to push out the announcement for this meeting. That way, you'll have a bunch of information. And that's actually something that the chat section that we've got going on here, that's also going to be guiding us in the types of information that we'll be releasing as FAQs, frequently asked questions, over the next, basically, it's going to be kind of nonstop over the next couple of weeks. Because as I said, many decisions are going to be made, many clarifications made, and a lot of new information is going to become available. And what we will be doing, we'll be pushing that out using our email systems as well as the website so that people have multiple access points for the information of the type of question that is clearly, you're asking is clearly a concern to many people.
No, I appreciate the answer, and I just want to get as much as I can out of this tonight, and may God bless you all, and hope this.
You as well, thank you. You as well, thank you. We live in extraordinary times, and I think this is one of those things that we're going to all. Basically, it's going to be an extraordinary time that we will certainly, if I ever have any grandchildren, I'll certainly be telling them about this. Well, I think we're going to be closing down the meeting now. And what we'll be doing is being able to answer. I think we've given additional moments for question asking, but please continue to ask questions, reach out and pose questions to your principals, to me, so that we can, if there's some bit of information that we're not providing, we could provide it. It's sort of an interesting, this is brand new for all of you. This is brand new for us. And we're in a position where we don't necessarily know what we don't know. And I think it's the questions from families, questions from faculty, and questions from the community that help everybody to better understand the situation. And I should also mention that the school committee is going to be charging me with monthly updates. I guess the best way of describing it would be progress reports. Because what we're going to need to do is, even though we're starting a plan here, we're going to need to revisit this and analyze how it's going and be able to change if things, basically change if we need to. As I said in my opening statement, this is one of those situations where we have developed a plan, but no plan is really happening until we're actually implementing that plan and finding out how it affects people. And that's going to be the important part. And when we do that, we're going to be reporting on a monthly basis to the school committee. I've recommended to the school committee that we dedicate an entire one session every month so that the public, families, and everybody else can take stock and to pose questions about how things are going and to give feedback as well. We're going to be soliciting feedback through family surveys as we move through this, because this is an entirely novel experience, and we need to be continually assessing how it's going, and we intend to do that. Well, I'm going to end the meeting now. And I again thank everybody for their participation. And if you have any friends who were not able to make it tonight, this will be available. The entire presentation will be available starting tomorrow on the website. And perhaps I will even push it out using the email so that people have links to it if they, so that they can participate. As well as we will be releasing the answers to the questions that were posed this evening. Thank you very much and good night.